Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim, and we are here to talk about artificial intelligence. First thing we're going to talk about is something that's been in the news a lot recently, and that is that ChatGPT has released 5.0. Not 5.0, but 5.0. Right?
Yes, they really. We'll just
come on, there's 04. And
there's 4.0 and there's 5.0. And
so I just wanted to make sure I've got it, because you correct me on that a lot when I say O. You're like O as in zero or O as in O, the letter O. So
you poor thing, you're so
I know
abused.
you correct me all the time.
I know
it's
you're
ridiculous.
so abused.
I am abused.
I know.
You guys heard it first. He admitted it.
I know.
So tell me about ChatGPT 5.
Do you want the press release version or the sarcastic
I want the
version?
Jim release version.
Okay, I'll give you the short press release version. The short press release version is from Sam Altman, and that 5.0 is going to change the world. It's the most impressive thing since indoor plumbing, though I think indoor plumbing's cooler, and it's going to change everything.
Okay.
And then, of course, because you have to have the good cop, bad cop thing,
which we're going to play in just a little while.
You have to have a group of people that say it's horrible and we want 4.0 back. We want our old ones back. We want, we want our model selector thing back, yada, yada, yada. The Jim version of this story is something that I'm sure that more than just me have came up with, which is this is about, what do you say it's always about?
Money.
It's always about the money.
Follow the money.
And when you look at it, what I've been working on at the school district for a long time was using an open source tool called Light LLM. Why did I do that? Well, I wanted to do that because I wanted to manage the models they use for cost.
Okay.
Well, there's been a tool out which I actually looked at as well, but it didn't have that quite open source feel to it, called Open Router. And Open Router basically says, we're going to take your prompt, and based on the prompt, we're going to decide which model is the least expensive model to answer your question. Now, what do you think when you look at the 5.0 now in ChatGPT and all the models are gone?
Yeah, you have no choices.
But now there's one that came back. Now there's a reasoning versus, because people scream too loud. But basically, they assure you that now what they have is the ability to select the best model for what you need it to do. Now, do you really think that's the case, or is this about the money?
It's about the money.
It's about the money.
Always.
Because what did you teach the teachers when we released Agnes and we had all those models available to them?
Which one to pick? I mean, if you're going to do an image, then you're going to pick this one. If you're just doing a basic email, then you're going to pick this one. And we even had like little dollar signs in front of the names so that they knew which one was the most expensive one to pick. Yeah.
And Google's been doing that for a while. Google would release a new model, but in reality, their model almost from day one was all the models that they had. And based on whether or not it had to think deeply versus something else, they would choose the model. And they're going to base it on cost. I mean, maybe they're also going to base it. I mean, if there's a bunch of different parameters to choose, cost is going to be number one parameter.
Has to be.
And so what they want to do is reduce the cost of using it. So this release to me was, and Sam Altman's already said it, this is it. This is what we're releasing. You basically can
deal with it.
You can cry all you want to, but this is what we're going to do.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they have 700 million users a week, or something to that degree or that number, and their GPUs are melting.
Yeah.
And they are sucking power out of the grid and probably bringing down entire cities. So they needed to reduce their cost.
Right.
And the way to do that is to stop letting people choose. Because most people, when they get used to a model, like there's some people that will only use reasoning models.
Right. No matter what.
I wasn't one of those, because one thing I noticed was reasoning models were terrible. You couldn't generate an image with a reasoning model. You needed to use like 4.0. 4.0 was great at doing that. When I used 4.0, I used 4.1 a lot. I selected a lot of times based on speed. Well, they've taken that away from you, which I don't like, because I was one of those who would say, okay, I'm in a hurry. I want to get this done.
But I can understand their point of view, because if you are a normal, everyday person, you're just going to put it on a model and that's the only one you're going to ever select.
Well, and there are some people that argue that everybody was just using 4.0 because they're used to it, and the people weren't even trying the reasoning
Not even
models.
trying.
But I think it was more likely, again, follow the money. It was all about money. So, and then 5.0 has been getting hammered by some people. The ones, somebody's got to say it's terrible because
Right.
you get clicks that way. And somebody's got to say it's the best thing ever because you get clicks that way. You tend to get more clicks, I think, on the negative than the positive. So there's been a lot of people going, it's just awful, it's just awful, it's just awful. I used it a lot. And I can honestly say, based on my usage patterns, it is no better and no worse than using it before when I selected my own model. The thing I don't like about it is that it selects the model for me. And I don't get, they got hammered almost on day one because their model selector was basically broken.
Right.
And so it was doing a really crappy job of selecting the model. So for me, it was like, great. Now it's picking a reasoning model when I don't want it to pick a reasoning model. And it's picking a faster model when I
wonder
don't.
if you could prompt it to pick the model that you want it to pick.
Well, I just watched a YouTube video today from that guy I like to watch, Nate. And he literally did a video on that exact same thing. Okay. And he was talking about.
Look at me being forward thinking.
You're forward thinking. He was talking about that. Now, he said that at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to fully control that.
Right.
But
you can start your prompt out with saying, I really need to think seriously about this, yes, or I really need to do some
think deeply about this.
You could prompt it to try to get it to pick the model that you want it to pick.
And so I think it is got newer data, and it is a bigger model. It probably has a great deal of improvements. I just think they oversold it because I think Sam Altman, he wanted to be first because he always wants to be, if he knows that Claude or Anthropic's releasing something and Google's releasing something and others, then he wants to release something in front of that. Right. Because, if you're raising hundreds of billions of dollars, then you definitely got to
stay relevant.
And so I think that they released it as quickly as they could. But I think at the end of the day, it was about that model selector. It's Open Router. It's I'm surprised they didn't buy Open Router, but they basically had to make sure that this is going to pick the cheaper model.
All right, so we're going to do something a little different now that we've kind of covered the news. We are going to kind of play a little bit of good cop, bad cop. It's something that we were doing the other day. I've been spending a lot of time in Liberty Hill, and so we've just been talking over the telephone, and I haven't been at home on the weekends. And we were talking about a post that happened to where I had made a post on LinkedIn about cheating. And basically it was, kids don't consider this cheating. They consider what they're using AI for is optimizing, which is what we've always done. I mean, do you remember when we were in college and we went out and bought Cliff's Notes?
Of course.
Right.
And of course.
Wikipedia comes out and you're using it all the time. Google comes out, you're using it all the time. I mean, people use the tools to optimize, is what the kids are calling it.
Well,
so
it depends. It depends how you'd frame it. Okay. Your view, you were just saying, was they're doing it. You're calling it optimization. If I define it as cheating, it's cheating. If I'm the person, what do we always tell our kids about? If the professor tells you that the moon is made of blue cheese, and he asked that on the test, or she asked that on the test, then that's the answer.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that control it.
Right.
And so you can say it's not cheating and reframe it, but at the end of the day, if you want to define it as cheating, it is. But what is your expectation for people's behavior when you put so much weight
on a grade,
on grades and on tests? And I'm not a very good test taker. And so if I can find a way to give me, instead of calling it optimization or cheating, let's call it giving myself a competitive edge.
Yeah, because if you're not able to compete in that area with everyone else, then you want to be able to get that edge so that you are able to do so.
And
so sometimes if that means you're using it to get like a study guide or tutoring or better notes or whatever. And so I had a lot of people, basically my post was about the kids are fine. It's the adults that aren't doing so great. And it's because the kids are using the tool without any problems, but the adults haven't came in and said, hey, let's learn how to use it correctly. Let's learn what the ethics are. Let's define what cheating is. Show me your chat. Show me how you're using it. I'll grade you based on that. And I got a lot of people that were like agreeing with me. Yes, it starts with AI literacy. It starts with in kindergarten on the way up. You have to teach them young, hey, here's a tool. Here's how I want you to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when we taught them the Dewey Decimal System on how to look up a book. I mean, you have to teach them how to use it. But then I got a lot of people that were pushing back, no, it's cheating. They're lazy. I had one guy go off about how, it doesn't matter. They're a bunch of lazy pieces of crap and they're going to cheat no matter what. I mean, I'm sitting like, oh, what a sad life you have. But they were all college professors. The difference in the comments were 100% K-12 was saying, yes, we need to teach them how to use it correctly. And college professors were saying, I don't care how you slice it. If they use it, they're cheating.
Well, I have issues with college professor. I have 2 degrees. One is an associate's degree. One is a bachelor's degree.
I have 2 degrees too.
And I started out at the University of Texas.
In Austin.
In Austin.
Big university.
And I left there for various reasons, most of them financial, and went to and got my associate's degree at Austin Community College. I loved Austin Community College. Not only were the classes smaller, but the people that were the professors that were there because they wanted to be, because they enjoyed it. There was even one of the professors I had in physics there that was actually a UT professor, but he taught some at Austin Community College because he liked the connection he liked teaching physics the way that they taught it there. And so the problem I have with this idea of the college professors being on their pedestal about cheating is you walk in front of a class with 500 kids. You make no effort to make a personal connection to them at all. I had a college professor in a math class who told us that he did not give office hours because he didn't want us bothering him. And it was a really hard class. I had TA sessions that had, our personal TA sessions had 40 people in them. Now, that's not the professor's fault necessarily. That is how colleges are run because they are a business, no matter what you want to say about them. They maybe not used to be, but they are now. So it's easy for them to stay on their high horse and say, this is cheating. But can I also say that a lot of professors are terrible teachers? So don't be so judgmental about people's behavior when you set ridiculously high expectations. You don't properly prepare the kids for it. How many times have you been in a class and go, well, if you were in the previous course on this, then you would have learned this. And you're like, yeah, but I was with you.
Right.
And I didn't learn that.
That actually happened.
It happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It has happened before to where you're like, wait a second, you told us to skip that chapter and you were my professor last semester. So yeah, I remember that.
Anyway, we can go on for a long time about the whole cheating thing.
All right, so let's talk about, I am going to be the good cop.
Go for it.
Okay. AI detectors are awesome. Love them. I just take my paper, I run it through the AI detector. It tells me if the kid has cheated, and then I give them their grade, and I move on.
Well, we've had a person who created one of those on our podcast. And they didn't say it didn't work, but basically they said they're shifting their priority from detection to instead of an adversarial, they want it to be collaborative. So they're changing from I'm going to catch you cheating to I'm going to help you write better. That's the right way of thinking about it.
I agree.
And that paradigm that we had where you had the plagiarism detectors, it's time to get out of that paradigm, folks. It's sort of like using an AI for treating it like Google. You're going to get crappy answers if you treat AI like Google. If you shove a paper in there and say, or even use AI like that one professor did and say, did AI write this? Either way, you're not going to get the results. And it's unfair to the kids.
Very unfair.
Because not every kid is a horrendous cheater. So, no.
Okay.
That's not the right way to look at it.
Okay. let's talk about class sizes. Somebody posted on LinkedIn, basically it was a congrats, you've forced thousands of teachers to quit because of attacks and misguided anger. And now you're surprised when you're in a K-12 classroom and you have 60 to 80 students in the classroom. You have unqualified college students that are teaching the class. You have substitute teachers for most of the year because they never could fill the position with a certified teacher.
I don't think you're being a good cop.
Or you have no, I'm not. Or you have no teacher at all. I'm going to be the bad cop this time. So this is a reality that we are facing in education right now. My future daughter-in-law, first day of teaching is tomorrow.
Hopefully you didn't ruin her by getting her to be a teacher.
She has 5th grade class. She has 3 rotations. Her smallest one has 26 kids.
Well,
and these are 5th graders.
I think this backs up to our discussion about college. A lot of the objections, you've mentioned this, that you've seen this post several times. A lot of your objections are college professors saying, this cheating's gotten so out of hand, I'm going to have kids handwriting their paper. That's cute.
First of all, you can't read their handwriting.
Well, we stop
teaching.
Now
that.
we teach typing. We don't teach, handwriting, which I disagree with venomously because I think they should teach handwriting.
Yes.
And you get them into high school and you want, how many kids did you have in a given day?
When I taught junior high school, not even high school, I had at least 120 kids.
So you're going to grade 120 papers along with everything else you do. And
I don't have a TA.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a grader. I don't have a teacher's aide in my class anymore. It's all me.
It's all you along with everything else you're doing.
Right.
And this idea that you can, again, stand in your lofty ivory tower and say, this cheating's out of hand, critical thinking is down, therefore we're going to make sure that kids handwrite this stuff. Okay, then you grade the papers.
And think about it in college when they have 1,000 kids.
Even if they had 50, college professors, some may grade their papers, but I can promise you none of mine did because I always got to know the graders.
Well, and the other thing that really gets me about if you're hand grading things like that is, and I've done it, I am guilty. I'll say it. By the time I got to the 10th, 11th, 12th paper, was I
skimming.
Really putting enough effort into it
Nope.
for those kids?
You were skimming.
Yeah. And, by the time I got to paper number 100, I'm like, hey, they said my name is, they get an A.
Well, not only that, but you bring your own set of biases, your own set of issues. Now, arguably, you could use, because you and I have tested this with Agnes, you can take a picture of a paper and use that. You and I have even talked about that, where they could just scan the paper in and then the AI would do the first pass grading on it.
Yes.
So there is ways to utilize AI in that regard. I don't even disagree with the idea of handwritten papers. What I disagree with is this lofty notion that you can say, well, I'm going to do handwritten papers, everybody should right now, without putting anything in place. Again, it's this heavy focus that I see people have on the whys, but nobody wants to talk about the hows.
Well, see, and that's it. The person that was one of the people that had commented about how, cheating, that they're cheating, I commented back. I said, I wrote a paper, an article about addressing the why students cheat, not the how students cheat.
Yeah.
And basically it was like, there are a lot of reasons behind a kid's thinking that they need to cheat to get through something. It could be, situations at home. It could be low self-esteem. It could be a reading or a writing disability. It can be that their parents have them signed up for 100 different things and they're taking all AP classes and they're also in band, or they're also in cheer, and they're also in volleyball, and they're also in, and then you give them a 20-page essay that's due in 2 days and they're at capacity. And so they're going to find the easiest way out. The person came back and basically said, doesn't matter why it's not important. If they use AI, they're cheating. And so I didn't respond back because I'm like,
Well, I mean, again, it's that good cop, bad cop. Some people are doing it just to be
Adversarial.
And I, as you well know, because we've done a lot of getting in front of crowds, I don't recognize that the way some people do, because I don't read people's intentions very well from an emotional perspective. So I tend to look at it and go, but have you thought about this? Well, when you start talking about cheating and you start talking about whether or not this is a bad or a good thing, there is sort of a context you got to build around that. And I'm not saying because you're really busy, suddenly cheating is okay.
No.
But it's as like my daughter said, if an A is not important to you, then give me the A, because it is to me, because I have to have it to get into college. And our daughter, being 100th of a point off of the valedictorian in her class, ended up getting $6,000 worth of scholarships instead of her first semester or first year of University of Texas paid for.
Right.
This is a big difference.
It wasn't just to her, it was financial burden to the family.
And so when you look at it, the kid is trying their best. And oh, by the way, the person that got the valedictorian in her class wasn't a cheerleader and in band and in all these other things. They had a couple of things going on. Basically, they played video games and studied.
Right.
And so, but they got graded on the same metric. When it came to getting into college, it didn't make any difference. What mattered was that 100th of a point. When you set up these kinds of things, people are going to do whatever they think they need to do to get that competitive advantage. Look at a place like China. I was looking recently in China. They've got a school there. It's considered the smartest kids in China, and these are really smart kids. They go to school from 7:30 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. They live at the school. They don't go home. And when they get to a certain level, they take a series of 6 tests, and that determines the rest of your life. If you do well on them, you get the opportunity to continue on with your education, probably get a better job, get more money. If you don't, you go into the workforce.
Wow.
Now, what are you going to do? I mean, I've read and heard about some of the most advanced cheating attempts I have ever heard of coming in China.
Well, that kind of pressure.
You're talking about, we're not talking about whether or not they get to live on, in a $2 million house versus $1 million house. We're talking about whether or not they get to live in a $500,000 or $1 million house versus living in a shack potentially. I mean, disappointing their family. I mean,
not being able to take care of their family.
There's so much that goes on with that. You set up these ridiculous expectations for these kids, and then you wonder. And oh, by the way, you have them playing sports and stuff to teach them to be competitive. But when it comes to this, only be competitive within these very specific boundaries. It's kind of hypocritical.
It's very hypocritical. I think that a lot of adults do end up becoming hypocritical. I know that one of the reasons I became a counselor is because I was one of those kids. I was one of the kids that got in trouble. I got expelled. I was not a good kid. And one of the reasons, hush.
I didn't know all this when we got married. I didn't know all this when we got married.
Oh, that's bull crud. So
I was in.
I know. I met you in ISS.
I was in the detention with you, dear.
One of the reasons I became a counselor is because I saw all of these educators that they weren't seeing the kids for who the kids were. They were being very hypocritical. And so
we digress away from AI here a little bit.
Okay, let's talk about
uses of AI besides that.
Therapy.
Well, again, it's back to that hypocritical thing again.
Someone posted today a picture of a hand with an engagement ring on, and it said that their AI boyfriend had proposed. And I'm like,
that's a little silly. Somebody's trying to get
attention.
First
of all, someone's probably trying to get attention. Yeah. It might not be true. But you know what? If I want to go out and buy myself a ring to put on my left hand, and I'm by myself, and I'm a female, and I'm, whatever, more power to me.
Yeah, it's a little weird to me. I mean, maybe you should see one of those counselors you was talking about. I do think, however, I've seen a lot of discussions about, is it okay for people to use ChatGPT for therapy?
And students are like having communications with their chat and their friends and their AI friends, and Mattel is putting AI into toys, and all of this is happening.
Where were these concerns whenever Facebook was,
Discord.
When Facebook was trying to figure out why kids were switching to Snapchat, I heard about this recently. And so they basically were putting spyware on kids' phones that were like 13 years old, so they could figure out why these kids were using, Snapchat versus the Facebook thing at the time. Where were people when social media, when gaming was taking more and more kids' time? Again, it's one of those things where now all of a sudden, thank you AI, we're having the discussion we should have had a long time ago about privacy but it's a little late to the party.
It is. I
And
heard about a fourth grader who has a TikTok channel that they have like thousands and thousands and thousands of followers because this fourth grader dances on TikTok.
well, I mean, there's
And
also
who's monitoring that?
and the parents are using it as a way for generating income and all
Yes.
that other stuff. The therapy thing kind of catches my attention a little bit, and these people that are so, again, it's standing on your high horse and judging, or your ivory tower, depending on who you are. But try being an 80 something year old person who can't get out and drive. Maybe they live in a small town, so they can't call an Uber. Even if they don't have the money to pay for it typically. And they don't have anybody to talk to. And all the family members do their best, but at the end of the day, the family members are at work all day.
Mm-hmm.
So they sit at home alone and they're by themselves all day and they have no one to talk to. And you're going to tell me that you think they're ruining the world because they're talking to a chatbot. Now, if the chatbot starts suggesting they jump off of a bridge, well, first of all, they probably can't because they can't get to the bridge. But second of all, we're hoping that there's enough guardrails in the chatbots. And from what I've seen, there are. So, yes, the family members have to be a little more aware of that. But at the end of the day, don't judge people so dramatically for what they're doing until you've walked a mile in their shoes.
Sadie is driving me crazy. Sorry. Our dog is you've probably seen a nose in the bottom of the film if you're watching YouTube right now because she keeps wanting to be fed. But
what's film?
Film. Stop giving me a hard time. Golly. We're about to see you get hit on our podcast. It is very sad. And the thing for me is that the AI is not the person who has called them from some foreign country and has convinced them that they're their friend and therefore send me money kind of thing.
And we've seen that. And we've seen the 80-year-old person that's home alone. And you know what? If my 80-something-year-old mom wants to talk to an AI, more power to her.
Well, she sure can't talk to Alexa because Alexa doesn't understand her.
Yeah, we tried that. It didn't work at all. Couldn't get her to turn the lamp on and off with it.
Yeah.
Now there's Alexa Plus, though, which is all better. But, I am concerned about it taking advantage or, trying to get her to buy stuff or things like that or convince her to buy things. I'm concerned about that kind of stuff. That's why the family needs to be involved. But we don't live in a day and age where it's easy for you to bring, your 80-year-old mom to live with you. And my 80-year-old mom doesn't want to live with you. But even if they did, we work all day. So they're still going to be here by themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not as common as it used to be for one of the people, usually the female, to stay at home and be with the in-laws or the grandparents or whoever's living there.
The female has to be a breadwinner also.
If you want to live in a house nowadays, it's going to take more than one person. Yeah. So again, AI with cheating, AI with therapy, whatever it is, don't be so dang judgmental.
Always two sides to every coin.
We missed one little thing we also were going to talk about.
Okay.
Which was tangentially related to AI, which I thought it was amusing because we're talking about education and my concern about education isn't whether AI is going to get integrated tightly into classrooms.
It already is.
It's going to happen. Yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because students are using it. It's going to happen because teachers are using it because they don't have enough time as it is. It's going to happen because they've got schools like the one in Austin where they can replace teachers with guides.
All your ed tech software is going to have AI components.
You've got all these people pushing this idea that we need less teachers. We can put 50 kids in a room because they have an AI. Because at the end of the day, we live in a country where even educating our kids is big business and we focus on the profitability more than the performance. So in the state of Texas, they were going to solve all that.
You know, Texas is
They
always solving
they were going
everything.
to solve it because the best way to solve something is to have a committee,
A task force.
a task force,
Yes.
the Teacher Vacancy Task Force. Who came up with that? That's not even a good acronym. TVTF. That's a terrible acronym.
Okay.
That's not even an acronym. Anyway, so they put together this task force, which actually was started in 2022 by Governor Abbott, who hates public education. And it was, their final report was in February of 2023. And what was sadly funny about it was the first round of it, they had like 26, 28 people. There was 2 teachers. The
Two.
rest of them were superintendents, and I'm not knocking superintendents, but you're not in the classroom. It's not the same view.
Yeah.
How's the view from up there? Because it's not the same as the view in the classroom,
It
and things change.
And you can't walk into a classroom and sit for 10 or 15 minutes.
No,
Because believe me, those teachers have those kids trained to behave when another adult's in the room.
and what I have learned over the years was it's the weirdest thing, but the best way to find out what teachers need is to ask them.
Really?
And Sandy, there was such a huge uproar on this thing, and because they were going to fix the goal was to fix the teacher shortage.
Okay.
So the first thing they had to do was put actual teachers on there because it was a big uproar. So instead of getting rid of some of those superintendents to put teachers in, they doubled the size of the task force. Because if you've got 26 people and you go to 52, you're going to have so much more
Lots
productive.
of decisions are getting made in that
yeah,
room.
you're going to have so much more productive that way. So they come out with this task force, and basically the biggest thing they came up with, and this is, I'm glad you're sitting down. The biggest thing they came up with was you need to pay teachers more, and you need to give them better support. Wow.
I'm going to say a cuss word if I'm not careful.
Wow. I mean, come on. 52 people spend a year, and that was really their best conclusion. And oh, by the way, you need to support them better, not only in financial ways, but training and helping them with discipline on the kids and all this other stuff. There was not a huge amount of discussion on the fact that you have 27 kids in a class. We don't just need more teachers. We need more teachers in each school.
Right.
Not just because we have a shortage of teachers, but because you're not giving the schools enough money to pay for them.
We actually
That's where AI is going to come in.
We had a teacher that was hired on one of our campuses that never showed up for the first day of work. So.
And what did they do? They applied for
I'm sure
20 different schools, and they basically had their top 2 they wanted to get into, and so they got that job offer.
So last thing, and then we're gonna have to wrap up. So Jerry Brooks, I think it's Jerry, it might be Gary.
Spelled with a G.
G.
So we'll call it Jerry.
Jerry Brooks. He is a very famous principal that has a YouTube channel and stuff like that. He actually, I saw a video that he did where he was coming back at somebody who had posted on TikTok complaining because they had taken their kid to meet the teacher, and they were complaining because the teacher's room was not decorated as well as they thought it should be.
Nice. And how much do teachers on the average spend out of their own pocket every year? I think I read it was $873.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get paid enough to spend $873 decorating their room.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to our future daughter-in-law. She started at like July, end of July. She doesn't get her first paycheck until the end of September.
Yeah, so she's supposed to, wait for a month to get paid.
Right.
And by the way, she's got to use her own money that she saved up to
decorate. You only get paid once a month.
That's ridiculous.
And you don't get paid the first month that you're on contract because you're always a month behind kind of thing.
That's ridiculous.
And so she is literally going to be going like 12 weeks,
with no
9
paycheck.
weeks with no pay. She waited tables until Sunday night before she started work on Monday morning, trying to save up as much cash.
Is this one of those lazy young people we talk about that everybody hears about?
Works her butt off.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
that judgmental thing.
She works her butt off, and then she, we hit the Goodwill. I mean, that's where we went. We went to Goodwill, and then even then she's negotiating the price of some lamps because she's trying to get stuff in her classroom, used construction paper and borrowed a Cricut, which is a cutter, to make her own borders. And here we have a woman who has gone viral on TikTok because she's bitching about the lack of decorations in her kids'
I hope she got annihilated by people.
I was very proud of Jerry Brooks because he eviscerated her. And I was very proud that he did that. Teachers don't get any, sorry, teachers don't get a lot of respect, or they don't get the respect that they deserve.
I think the problem is, I think they actually do from some people, but this vocal minority, it's the same ones that are trying to to say that, we're pushing porn in the high school libraries and stuff like that. These people are very loud.
Yes.
And that old saying, those who know the least know it the loudest.
It's true.
And I think these people are making these teachers feel horrible. And my dad used to say, because he was an auto mechanic, he used to say, when I was young and my dad was a mechanic, mechanics were respected. People needed them. By the time I retired from being a mechanic, they were so low, they were equal with politicians in terms of how people viewed them.
Mm-hmm.
When did teachers get this group of people who get this person that got this viral TikTok? They don't care what it does to teachers' morale.
Not at all.
All they cared about is they got the clicks they wanted.
Right.
For all we know, that person lives in China and hates the U.S. They're probably a communist.
Never know. All right. My name is Maurie.
It's a little negative tonight, wasn't it?
Maybe we're a little negative, but
yeah. Well, school just started, and we're seeing some of these behaviors. We don't make this stuff up. I wish I did make it up.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. We are talking about artificial intelligence and education, and just education in general. So we appreciate you guys joining us, and we hope that you have a marvelous rest of the week.